going on, y'all? It's your boy Lance, and we're here for the first episode of my new show, Movie Night with Lance. In the show, we're going to talk about new releases, old releases, and many different kinds of cinema. So whether you're a cinephile, or whether you're starting to develop a passion for cinema, or you just enjoy watching films from time to time, you've come to the right place. Now that I told you the what, let me explain to you the why. It all started last week when I was talking to my friend on my phone. Now, I just finished watching Arcane for the first time, and I told him how much I loved it. It was a really good show. And I was telling him how Powder, one of the characters from the show, reminded me of Thorfinn from the anime Vinland Saga. Great anime if you haven't seen it, but he told me he didn't see it. Now, my friend doesn't watch anime, so I thought of a film that closely resembles Vinland Saga, and that would be The Northman. But he hasn't seen it either. Now, my friend, he doesn't normally watch a lot of movies. He does from time to time, which, you know, is normal, it's fine. But then he told me something afterwards that I just couldn't forget. He told me that cinema is dead. And that good movies don't exist anymore. Can you believe that? Good movies don't exist anymore? I couldn't believe my ears. Good movies don't exist anymore? And by the way, my buddy's name is Patrick, which probably explains why he's been living under a rock for the past year if he's going to miss out on all these movies that came out this year, which is the point of this video. So in this episode, I'm going to debunk that problematic and disgusting statement by talking about the great cinematic films that released this year. And if you haven't already watched them, add them to your watch list. 2023 has been a fantastic year of films so far. And even though there are so many great films that came out this year, I'm only going to discuss 3 in this video. The first film I'm going to talk about is, of course, the most popular movie of the year, Barbie. We've had the biggest cinematic day this year with Barbenheimer's release. I knew Barbie was going to receive great reviews because it's written and directed by Greta Gerwig, who made the films Lady Bird and Little Women, both great films you should see if you haven't. Barbie's a film with a powerful message that was meant to unite us, or not. Now, as you guys know, there are a lot of mixed reviews on this film, but eventually it breaks down to 2 sides. There's one side that praises the film for discussing gender identity and female empowerment, while the other side criticizes the film for being man-hating and a little too feminist. The question is, which side are you on? I personally have mixed feelings towards the film as well. I personally thought it was going to be like a Lego movie where it's going to have like its own universe and its own set of problems just away from reality. And I just thought it would be a nice film to watch where I could just have fun and just forget about the world's problems. I was expecting a little more, but instead I got,
and I'm bad like the Barbie. I'm a doll, but I still wanna party.
I do elaborate on these issues in my Letterboxd review, but on a positive note, the filmmaking is incredible. This was Greta Gerwig's biggest challenge yet, and she does not disappoint in her directing at all. She does an excellent job introducing Barbie world, writing interesting characters, and bringing heart and emotion to a story of Barbie dolls. Let's not forget the multiple film references this movie had. It was a fun theatrical experience. And the best part of the film, in my opinion, was the whole I'm Just Ken dance sequence. You can tell they had a lot of fun making that, and honestly, I had a lot of fun watching it. Again, there are some things that I would change in the story, but for the most part, it's a good film. And let's be honest, was the film meant to be controversial? Was it meant to divide us, to have discussions about? Because in addition to the film's marketing, the controversy also did a great job in getting people to go out and watch the film. And it clearly paid off. It's still the highest grossing film of the year. Let me know your opinion of Barbie in the comments. With Barbie out of the way, I think you guys already know the second film I'm going to discuss. And yes, it's one of Christopher Nolan's best films in my opinion. Oppenheimer dominated the box office as well. It's currently nearing $1 billion in the box office today, but it's not there yet. Now, I went to see the film on IMAX at 3 p.m. on a Friday, and I was surprised to see the whole movie room packed. There were so many people. And honestly, as far as I know, the audience loved the movie. Now, most of my friends enjoyed the film. They thought it was a masterpiece. Some thought it was just good, and a very few thought it was boring and overrated. Like Barbie, I thought the film was very well directed. There were a lot of things I loved about it. I mean, yeah, there were some times where I felt like the film was dragging because it's a 3-hour film, or maybe I just had to pee because it was a 3-hour movie. But the way Nolan told Oppenheimer's story, I thought was pretty well. And the Trinity scene in particular, I think, was my favorite scene in the whole film. And there's a lot more to the film that was great. I mean, the performances from all the actors. Cillian Murphy does a great job. Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr. And of course, there's my personal favorite, and I really hope that he does get recognition in the award season, Alden Ehrenreich. He did a great job in this film as well. I'm telling you, this is a serious contender for Best Ensemble at SAGs. In addition to like the performances from the cast, I thought the cinematography was stunning. And of course the score. The score is amazing. I listened to it continuously after the film was released. You know, now that I think about it, I think Trinity actually was like the most played song that I had. Now talking about the performances and the direction and the score and the cinematography and the many great things that this film had, this is a cinematic achievement. This is cinema. This is a great film. Let me know your opinion of Oppenheimer in the comments. Last but not least, I'm going to talk about my personal favorite of the year, and in my opinion, the most deserving for Best Picture, and that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. For those who have seen it, I think you guys can empathize with me when I say that I did not want this film to end. I had a big smile on my face the entire time when I was in the movie room. And as soon as I saw that final scene and that final shot, I was like, no, please continue. Please go on. I didn't want it to end. The animation was stunning, and you can tell how much work the animators put into that film. The stakes are higher, more characters are introduced, the humor and emotional weight are still perfectly balanced, and it still reaches the standard for not only animated films, but superhero films to follow. I think some of you guys would agree with me when I say that Across the Spider-Verse is better than Into the Spider-Verse, and Into the Spider-Verse was still incredible. I honestly can't wait for Beyond the Spider-Verse to come out. And if it delivers just like how Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse did, this might actually be the greatest film trilogy of all time. And I've seen Lord of the Rings. There's also the horrible, terrible, gross opinion that animated films are just for kids. But I'll cover that in another video. Let me know your opinion of Across the Spider-Verse in the comments. In addition to these 3 movies, there are a ton of other great films that came out this year. John Wick Chapter 4, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, Killers of the Flower Moon, Past Lives, and more. Let me know any films you've seen this year that you think are worth mentioning. In every episode, I'm going to recommend a movie for anyone to watch. The movie rec that I'm going to talk about today is one of my personal favorites. Crank! For those who don't know, Crank is an action film about a man who's poisoned and has only little time to find the antidote. He has to go through a bunch of obstacles to achieve his goal, but the film is a cinematic experience itself. If you're into fight scenes with hilarious bits, or feeling an adrenaline rush without actually taking anything, or quotable dialogue that'll linger with you for a while, then this is the film for you. Now, I watched it about a year ago because my buddy Colin recommended it, and it was great. I loved watching the film for the first time. I should point out that I watched it at night and I couldn't sleep afterwards because I felt so pumped. Luckily, I didn't have work the next day. There's no denying that Jason Statham's a talented actor. He does well in his older films, like Lock, Stock, and Snatch, and even in his newer films, like Spy. But his performance in Crank will always be my favorite. Now, like I mentioned before, this movie is an experience itself. So, what I would personally recommend, go out to like a theater, or if you have a home theater installed, or if you just have a big screen, watch it with speakers, because you really have to feel the film. Now, Crank is a movie that I do recommend for you guys to watch, but it is not a perfect movie. It does have its flaws. Some moments of the film are just flat out ridiculous. There's some scenes you can take seriously, and there's just some other scenes that you just cannot take seriously. I also personally don't like nudity in movies, but there are a ton of scenes where nudity is shown. I would recommend a censored version of the film, but if you did watch a censored version, you'd miss out a lot on the film's ridiculous, yet hilarious dialogue. And speaking of its dialogue, let me show you a few of my favorite lines.
What it's gotta do? What is it you gotta do?
I'm gonna kick some black ass.
What?
Looking for something that starts with E.
England?
very funny, no.
This film was very funny indeed, to an extent. It's streaming on Netflix, so be sure to add it to your list if you can. There is also the sequel, Crank High Voltage, which you can watch if you want. It's watchable, but it's not something I'd recommend. I only recommend the first film.
It's game time. 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 It's game time.
It's game time! Every episode will feature a movie game or quiz of some sort, and the answers will be shared in the very next episode. Some of them will be easy, and some of them will be challenging. The topic for this episode's game is movie title by video. You'll watch stock footage and have to guess what the movie title is based on the videos you watch. My advice? Think too hard. This episode's game is supposed to be easy. Good luck. Thank you so much for watching the first episode of Movie Night with Lance. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Also follow me on my other socials if you want to see more videos that I post. And lastly, have a good night.